Good evening and welcome to the Welcome to Your First Year of High School webinar. My name is Nick Boudre, the Supervisor of Career and College Programs at St. Clair County, RESA, and I'll be your host for this event. Tonight, we're here to not only focus on helping transition you to your first year of high school next fall, but also begin the first stages of your career and college planning. Some may ask why we're talking about your career and college plans when you haven't even stepped foot into high school yet. But we know, and the research shows, that the earlier you begin in the planning process, you're going to put yourself in the best position to take advantage of every opportunity available to you over these 4 years. Make well-informed decisions about life after high school and be at a competitive advantage to pursue any program, career, college, or university of your choice after high school graduation. Tonight, you will hear from our panelists discussing programs such as St. Clair County Tech, dual enrollment, taking AP classes, Bluewater Middle College, and much more that you also may be interested in as part of your career and college plan, whether it guides you to a trade school, an apprenticeship program, attending a community college such as St. Clair County Community College, or a 4-year university or college. Our format for our events consists of a 30 to 40-minute conversation with our panelists, followed by a question and answer segment where the audience can ask questions in the chat button at the bottom of your screen. We're going to continue to build the conversation along the way and keep things moving to give us plenty of time to ask questions at the very end. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat box throughout the evening event, and we'll just wait to the end of the webinar to ask them to our panelists. But without further ado, let's get our conversation started with our first guest. I'm going to ask her to unmute her screen and we'll get her going here. Allison, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Allison, tell us a little bit about the high school that you attend, your grade level, and some activities that you're participating in currently.
So I'm a junior at Memphis High School. I currently play varsity softball and I'm in National Honor Society. And I'm inducted into NTHS, which is a program at Tech, which is basically Tech's version of National Honor Society.
Oh, very good. And we're going to get to that program Tech here in a little bit, talk a little bit about what it's like being in your first year. But let's start off by going into high school. What was your first year in high school as a ninth grader like? What was that transition like?
So I was already in the same building because Memphis is 6th through 12th grade is in the same building. So it wasn't too different, but I got to meet new teachers and I had to figure out where my classes were. And it was a little difficult, but it's not very hard to get through and you got it.
Okay. Well, you and I had a great conversation about this. And I think one of the concerns usually is the academic piece. So academically, was middle school much different than high school? What are the similarities? What are the differences?
So it is different. Our curriculum demands longer and more difficult assignments. You get essays and they grade a little bit harder, and it's a stronger curriculum, which you need to work hard and study for.
Okay. And and you mentioned this when we were prepping your segment too, is, the demands a little bit more. There's a little bit more of a workload in terms of homework. And then there's also those opportunities of taking advanced placement, or otherwise known as AP classes. And you can actually start taking those in your first few years. Talk to us about the AP classes that you took at Memphis so far.
So I'm currently taking AP Government, and next year I'm taking AP Lit.
Okay. And in turn, you just gave us a little bit of a preview of those first academic classes in high school. How are those different from the AP classes the AP class you're taking now and will be taking next year?
So AP classes require more time and effort than a normal class would because it is considered a college level class. They also have a big exam at the end of the year, which you do have to pay for, and you could get a college credit out of it, showing what you learned and if you retained it.
Okay. And is there a lot more writing? Is there a lot more reading than your other classes?
Yes. So when we're prepping for the exam, it has an essay at the end of the exam. So we do prep the writing, and there's a written question portion of the exam. So we have to prep our writing for those two portions.
Okay, very good. And I'm going to rewind just a little bit. And you mentioned that if you take the test, which I believe you do pay for them. Sometimes, there is a lot of scholarship and grant opportunities for those as well, but they're about $150 or so, kind of on average. But if you do pass that class or that test at the end of the class, you do get college credit, correct?
You do. And it transfers over to where you want to go to college. You do have to get a certain score based on the college you want to go to.
Okay, very good. And I know people, you probably know people too, those AP classes, if you pass those classes and get those credits, those really start to add up, and those really add up to financial, aid and support to you helping to pay for college, don't they?
For sure, yes.
Very good. Well, let's bounce a little bit over to your current experiences at the Tech Center. Tell us about the program you're currently enrolled in and what that's like.
I'm currently in health clears exploration, and throughout the year, I've gained medical skills that I need for my future in healthcare. I got to have a great teacher, and I got to meet new people from new schools. So I gained friends, and it was a great time.
Okay. What led you to the decision to attend Tech this year?
I really wanted to be a veterinarian, and I wanted the experience Tech would give me. And I was also hoping to get the second year internship where I could be in a veterinarian internship to get experience for college. But throughout the year, I realized that I really don't want to be a veterinarian, and it helped me realize that I actually want to be a CRNA.
Okay. And what is that acronym for, CRNA?
It's a certified registered nurse anesthetist.
Okay, very good. And so are you going to move that direction then in year 2 of the program?
Yes.
Very good. And I'm going to rewind a little bit just for information for the students and parents in the audience. Now, I know the health careers programs at Tech has 2 choices, health exploration. And what's the second option if that's something you're interested in?
The other option is CNA. They go to a home and they take care of the elderly. That wasn't my choice. I decided to go to the hospital and job shadow the different options like radiology tech or med surge.
Very good. And CNA is a certified nursing assistant, correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, you just touched a little bit about your job shadows experience. Tell us a little bit where those were at and what those were like.
So sorry. I got to see a radiology tech who brought me into the OR. So that is the operation room, and I got to see a surgical procedure, which is really, really cool for being in high school. I got to go into the ICU, which is the intensive care unit, and I saw a lot of sick people, which is a very sad thing to see. But if you want to go into healthcare careers, then you're going to see things like this, and it's good to see it early so you can get used to the sadness.
Okay. In a job shadow experience, you mentioned wanting to go into veterinary science or, had that direction with their career, and even those job shadow experiences, seeing those things and maybe being difficult, but being exposed to them and helping that. How did that really play into your plan to continue that route in the medical field?
It made me really realize that I really want to help people, and I really enjoy being around them and making sure everyone is feeling their best. And the atmosphere in a hospital is just so great, and I would love to go back.
Very good. So what's your schedule like throughout the day? Are you an AM and PM what classes do you come back to the high school and take? Tell the audience a little bit about that.
I'm a PM student, so in the morning I go to my pre-calculus, and then I go to AP Government, and then I go to my honors English. And then after that, I take the tech bus to tech. And then I would go out through my normal day in tech, which I get out at 2:10. But during the hospital days, once we get to tech, we take the bus to the hospital and we leave the hospital around 12:40.
Okay. And just because there is a myth out there, that if you go out to tech or you go away to other programs, you can't participate in the activities and athletics that are in the high school. And you're active, as you mentioned at the beginning, in softball, correct? You're able to, how do you handle not only your class load, the tech load, and athletics at the same time?
It can be a challenge, but I have a supportive family who can bring me from tech to my games if needed. It's not impossible. It is very possible to play sports. It is very easy to make it to practices, but sometimes games are earlier and people have to get out of school earlier, which when you're in the hospital, that can be difficult. But again, it's not impossible, and I haven't missed a single game yet.
Okay, very good. So what's the second year going to look like next year in your program?
So next year, I will hopefully be interning in the ICU at McLaren. I have to get it set up still, but I have talked to some people and they are willing to have a intern in the ICU next year.
Okay. And you mentioned going to be a CRNA, what colleges are you looking at? What's on your list of hopefully pursuing next year after high school graduation?
I've definitely been looking into Detroit Mercy and Michigan State. I'm looking to go into direct nursing. So I only have to do 1 year of prerequisites and then go into my 4 years to get my bachelor's of science in nursing and to become a registered nurse.
Okay, very good. Well, let's rewind back to your freshman year. The audience here is going to be getting ready for that year next fall. What has been the biggest change from your freshman year until now? What have you really either discovered, realized, maybe it was something you thought was going to be difficult, it's not difficult as it was. What was something you want to share with the audience over the last 2 years?
Well, it's actually my career change was the biggest thing, was deciding that I no longer wanted to be a veterinarian, because I have wanted to be a veterinarian since I was in kindergarten. So it was really a shocking revelation that I actually didn't want to be one.
So what advice would you give an 8th grade student that's coming in to their freshman year of high school? And then the second part of that question is going to be, what advice would you give an 8th grade student that's possibly considering a tech program?
I'd say learn the easiest way for you to study. I figured out quickly that I really like to study with Quizlet. While some people might hate studying with Quizlet, it's really what you need. I would also say keep an open mind about what you want your future career to be. I did not have an open mind at first, but once I did, I realized that, different careers are good. And also, I suggest starting your work early. A lot of people procrastinate and don't get their work done, especially with good quality. I like to start my work early and have time to get it done.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us. We'll be coming back to you here shortly as we roll through our other guests. We'll come back with some question and answers, as I'm sure the audience will have some for you regarding tech in high school.
All right, thank you.
All right, our next guest is coming to us from Marine City High School. Please welcome Jake Hinterich. Jake, how you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. Jake, tell us a little bit about the high school you attend, the grade level, and some of the activities that you participate in when you are in high school.
Well, I'm from Marine City High School. I'm a senior, and I played football this last season. I played football throughout high school. I ran track all throughout high school, and I've been in a numerous amount of programs like the NHS program. Obviously, I've been working with this program And I think there's a couple others that I work with Miss Becker in and around the school.
Yeah, Jake, we met a few years ago and really started actually working together with some of these programs to get some ideas, and I've really seen your high school career, change over the last 2 years, and your career and college interest that we're actually talking about right now. So what was it like coming into high school as a freshman? Talk to us about that transition for you.
Well, I'm the first of this is a really small school. It's a lot of names, like there's a lot of familiar names with parents who went through the high school. So I was the first of my brothers to make it through. So I had to kind of carve my own path. So I had like kind of like the sky was the limit for the expectations. So really didn't know what I was getting into. I knew I was going to have fun and make all sorts of new friends, but I really had to just work for like like going from 8th grade to freshman year. I had to kind of get used to like hanging out with a lot of older people, because it's not like 8th grade, 7th grade, staying in between these few years. You're walking around with seniors and upperclassmen, people who are about to graduate. So it's just you just got to prepare yourself for like everyone being a lot taller than you and like being familiar with all the teachers. So
Yeah, Jake, and I'm glad that you brought that up. That was last year's event as well. They talked about that. Walking into a school where your grade level, 4 grades below, and just the age difference. But it's actually not all that scary, is it?
no, you get used to it really fast. And a lot of the people that I hung out with freshman year were sophomores, juniors. So like you get used to it really easy. You make
Very
friends.
good. And so academically, much of like what Allison talked about, what was like that for you to transition in as a 9th grader?
Academically, it wasn't that different from 8th grade. I think 8th grade might have been a little bit tougher than freshman year at my school. It seemed like it you had like expectations of being a new high school or being a freshman, but you also had the like laid back ability that it's only freshman year. You just have to take the basic courses before you start working into what you want to do throughout high school.
And Allison touched on this again, about the importance of getting off to the right start, a good start academically. And you adventured onto taking advantage of some programs, much like Allison did, but in a different route called dual enrollment. Talk to us a little about dual enrollment that you're currently enrolled in, or you're just finishing up.
Well, I started my dual enrollment my junior year. I started with one class, and we had first, second, and third hour of our junior year because of all this stuff going around. So I had 1 hour free where I could just go home. I could stay at school if I wanted to, and I would do all my assignments through SC4 through the college, the dual enrollment program. So I was given a professor. I was given basically a college class that I had to do assignments on online.
And what classes did you take through SE4?
I'm not. I took a lot. My English was through SC4. I took 102 this year in the beginning of my senior year. I took some astronomy, a psychology, a sociology, a political science this year. Just all the basics for college, like all the introduction classes.
Okay. What was that like, going from high school classes, so all of a sudden you haven't graduated high school yet and you're sitting in a college class. How are they different, and how are they a lot alike in terms of the academics and maybe even the instructors or teachers?
Well, it's all like up to the instructors. The instructors, like, they basically run the course. Sometimes you'll get a nice one, sometimes you'll get one that's not too forgiving, but it's really similar to high school. It's just getting assignments in by due dates. There's panels you can look at for when to turn assignments in. There's a syllabus that you follow, and it's a lot similar to high school. It's just less of the teaching aspect, more of you have to teach yourself. You have to like look at through the textbook, find the answers, and yeah, just teaching yourself basically.
Very good. And what led to your decision to enroll into the dual enrollment program your junior year, and then obviously staying in for your second year, your senior year?
Well, I heard about the dual enrollment program from actually from a friend of mine who was a junior when I was a freshman. He said to do it because you can get an hour off, and the assignments, they really aren't that like complicated compared to high school assignments. It's like the same thing. So it's like a free hour. So everyone's going to jump at that opportunity. So once I got to my senior year where I could take like a certain amount, I took 3 this year. I'm currently in 3. So half of my day is in school, half of my day is out of school. So I learned from a friend who was a junior when I was a freshman.
Very good. And I know graduation's approaching here in the next couple of weeks. What are your plans for next fall?
I am enrolled at Central Michigan University, and so I'm gonna go up to Mount Pleasant, fire up chips. So I plan on maybe going into the nursing program or becoming a PA.
And speaking of that, and congratulations getting accepted into Central Michigan University, and tremendous program up there. How is a dual enrollment program going to help? What classes transfer over? How many credits will you be taking with you even before you step on campus?
I think it's somewhere, I took 10 courses, I'm pretty sure. So I finished my MTA, and I think that means I get to be a first year sophomore is what it's considered.
So you really got a whole year, your whole freshman year of college out of the way.
Yeah, it was huge. When I found out about that, I was like, wow, I didn't know the dual enrollments could do that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And saves you thousands of dollars in terms of taking those classes at Central Michigan, doesn't it?
Yeah, because the school paid for all of it. It's all paid through the school.
Yeah, dual enrollment's very good. What advice would you give an 8th grader or parent that's in the audience tonight that not only is preparing for high school, but maybe considering a dual enrollment program later in their junior year, much like you did?
Well, I would say that, in your junior year, you can take 1 course, you can take as many as I took, you can take 3. You can really just toy around with it. It all depends on the instructor. Just follow the syllabus. And if you don't like it, you can always just finish up the course and not take another one. It's that simple with your just scheduling.
And my last question for your segment here is I'm going to ask you, Jake, is what is the best advice that you could give an 8th grade student that's about ready to begin high school as a freshman next fall?
I would say that with all the activities that you can do in high school, definitely try to experiment and figure out what you like and what it's hard to explain, but I did not think I was going to be doing as many things for the school at my 8th grade year. I was not that involved with the school. So once you make bonds with certain teachers, opens you up for a lot more opportunities to take on like leadership roles with friends and in other groups. So just get out there and like try and find something that fits you. Find a group.
All right. Thank you so much, Jake. And we've only had 2 guests so far, and you're really hearing all the opportunities that are available for you throughout your 4 years, not only in the high schools, but also the programs that really add to your career and college plans, even before you cross that stage and get your high school diploma. Our next guest is going to give us another unique perspective of an opportunity that's recently throughout the recent years became available for high school students to really take advantage of not only career and college prep, but also extending another year after high school in continuing to get those credits, much as Jake talked about And Allison talked about is getting college credits, getting certifications really paid for by the high school or these programs for your future career. So please welcome my next guest, Maxwell Kenny. Max, tell us a little bit about your grade level and the program in high school that you attend.
I am technically in my 13th year of high school, but I just finished it. I'll be graduating from the Bluewater Middle College Academy. The commencement was tonight. I graduated from that, and I participated in football and wrestling my freshman and sophomore years of high school. My junior year, I had to stop. I did participate in wrestling, but midway through the season, I had to stop, not because of school or anything like that, but for medical reasons. After that, most of my time was focused pretty much on my college classes, specifically the engineering ones.
Okay. Which high school did you attend, Max?
I went to Port Huron Northern, as well as the Bluewater Middle College.
Very good. And so let's talk a little bit. We'll get back to the Bluewater Middle Colleges, and that's what we really want to focus on too. But much as Allison and Jake talked about, let's go back to your 8th grade spring. You're about to finish middle school. You're getting excited about the summer, but high school is on the horizon. What was that like for you to transition to Port Huron Northern?
Definitely a change, especially I registered for AP US History, and I'm not sure how much everyone knows about it, but they expect you, it's one of the only AP classes you can register for as a incoming freshman to high school, and you're expected to do summer homework and come into the class with a foundation of US history, so that you can pick up where you leave off at the end of the summer. So that is a massive change from anything they expected in middle school. In general, the AP classes that you're offered in high school are much different than anything that you'd probably be used to from middle school. The workload is greater. The reading is a lot more. Normal classes are pretty much the same. There is a noticeable increase in what you'd have to be expected to do, especially with the reading. But aside from that, with a few changes, you'd probably be perfectly good for those ones.
Very good. I'm glad you touched on that a little bit with the AP class. And I don't think a lot of students or families really are aware that you can take an AP class your freshman year, and that actually entails you actually doing some summer work prior to actually even starting. So you actually started your high school experience before even the start of the school year.
Yep.
Very good. Well, we had a great conversation about speaking of classes that you took at Port Huron Northern that really led you to the Bluewater Middle College later in the years. What classes did you take that interested you into pursuing that program?
There were two main classes that really led me to going to the Bluewater Middle College, and that were my math classes, because I was a little ahead of that. And by my junior year, when I was able to enroll in the middle college, I was already done with all of Northern's classes up through AP Calculus. So I kind of had to look elsewhere on what to do. And that was either going down dual enrollment or going to Bluewater Middle College. But what made me decide to do middle college was in my sophomore year, or maybe a little before that, I'm not entirely sure when we got the money. The Port Huron Area School District got a ton of grant money to basically remodel the school, and they used that paired with what they were given generously from the PJ Wallbank Spring Company to add a STEM wing onto our building, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. So we got two new core curriculums you could go down that were kind of obscure in my freshman year, so I didn't really know about them. They were kind of at the end of the classes that you could register to take, and that was biomedical science and engineering. And I actually, in my sophomore year, enrolled in biomedical science. Or I think it was my freshman year actually that I enrolled in biomedical science. Yeah, it was. I enrolled in biomedical science, and I ended up switching out of that because I didn't really know anyone in the class, and through like a month of being in there, it didn't really interest me. So I switched to the other STEM class, which was engineering. I think it was Intro to Engineering was what the class was called. And I really enjoyed that, using CAD, designing an automata. That was the final project. So I kind of continued going on that and went into the second year one, which was Principles of Engineering. And we went through that, learned the basics of electrical principles, design concepts, simple machines, and that was pretty much the end of the road for that class, aside from one class, which was computer integrated manufacturing, which I ended up taking my senior year. So it really didn't contribute to me deciding to go into the middle college. but kind of not having any more math classes to take and being really interested in the concepts of electrical engineering really led me to pursue the Bluewater Middle College, or at least look into it and start taking classes there.
Okay. So there's probably a lot of people in the audience right now thinking Bluewater Middle College, what is it? Where is it at? How do I sign up? Take us to not only that process about where the Bluewater Middle College is at, how you applied, but then tell us a little bit about your first year and what you learned about the program.
So where the middle college is, it's actually on St. Clair County's campus. It's in the Access and Technology Center, which is also the engineering building there. To apply, I believe, I can't remember because it was a few years ago now. I think on my scheduling script, because in high school they give you these papers that you circle all your scheduling stuff on and let them know what classes you want to take. I wrote on there that I was interested in looking into the Bluewater Middle College. So they kind of forwarded that to, at the time, I believe it was Pete Spencer, who was the administrator that was responsible for getting students in from my school district in specific. And we ended up having an interview with him that summer about the possibility of me coming to the middle college, and they kind of answered all our questions, because a number one fear for some reason of most people that look into the middle college is the whole there's a 13th year that you have to take, and they tell you that you don't get your high school diploma until you finish that 13th year. So a lot of people assume that means they're going to withhold your diploma until you finish that 13th year, and even if you switch out, you're not going to get it, which in all reality isn't what it is. And that's what my parents were fearful of. If you end up deciding not to finish with the middle college, they'll give you your high school diploma as long as you meet the requirements of it, of course.
Okay.
But in my first year, I actually, as much as I talked about the engineering classes and that really being the driving factor of me going there, I actually went in there wanting to pursue a business degree. So my first semester there, I took sociology and a college success course, because you have to take that when you go into the middle college. It's a required course for your first semester. So I took that. It was a kind of big adjustment, because instead of having 6 classes a day, I went to 4 classes at the high school, and then I had 2 at the college, and it was twice a week that I had to be in person for the college. And my one class was 45 minutes. Then I had an hour break where I didn't really have anything to do. And then I had an hour-long class after that, and then I was good to go home. So then on the other 3 days of the week, I just got to leave school at 4th hour and go do whatever I wanted to do. Kind of agreeing with what Jake said about college classes from my first semester there. The teacher really makes or breaks the class for you. So I would look into the teacher. You're going to have obviously a better time with a better teacher. So you don't want to get stuck with one that it kind of goes against how you learn. Like if you're a visual learner, you probably don't want a teacher who's just going to read from like a textbook the entire hour, because there are some that do that. Most of the engineering teachers, and I'm kind of biased towards them, don't do a lot of textbook reading. They kind of assign that for you to do at home, and then you're expected to come in with that knowledge and build something on it.
And I really appreciate the description of your first year, and we talked a lot about how you like that hands-on engineering experience, especially at the next level, at the college level at SC4, while you're taking your Bluewater Middle College classes. Talk to us about then what your second and your third year looked like in the program.
In my second year, I got to take pretty much exclusively engineering courses, because the second semester of my first year, I took engineering courses and really liked it, and ended up changing from wanting to do a business degree to electrical engineering. And that's what I went down the rest of the time. So in my second year, I got to take almost exclusively engineering courses, aside from one biology class that I had to take to graduate. That was really great. My schedule lined up a lot better. I got to leave high school. It was my senior year at high school. So I got to leave after 3rd hour, and I got to take 3 classes at the college each semester. After 3rd hour, I would leave. I would go home for an hour, I believe. And then I would have to show up at the college for most of the engineering classes are 3 hours long, but a lot of the other classes in the other buildings, I don't think end up blocking like that. It only ends up like that in the engineering building. Aside from if you take some classes like chemistry, I know is a 3-hour block class. Calculus, if you take it in person, is a 3-hour block class, I think. So that is a big adjustment, but it's not like you have to sit in the room for 3 hours at a time. The professors are really lenient. you get an hour break, or not an hour break, you get a 10-minute break after an hour, and a lot of the time they kind of stretch it to like 15 or 20 minutes. It's a lot more doable than the 3 hours makes it seem. So that was my second year was great. And then the third year that I just finished, the middle college actually will pay for 17 credit hours. They'll cover the cost for 17 credit hours of you. So I decided that if they're gonna offer to pay for it, I'm definitely gonna take advantage of that. So I ended up taking 17 credit hours, which is 5 credit hours past a full-time load, which again was an adjustment that had to be made. But with the tenacity, you can do it. Most of what I took was elective, or not electives, but electrical engineering classes.
And we too had a great conversation about that, how you really, use that as a springboard to start, pursuing your career and your interest in engineering and what you're planning to do after you graduate from the middle college. What are your plans after your upcoming graduation?
I am enrolled at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor to pursue a dual degree in aerospace engineering and nuclear engineering. But if you end up doing the middle college and you're not interested in going away to a 4-year or something like that, SC4 has a job fair, and specifically, again, biased towards engineering students. If you end up going into the engineering portion, that job fair, about 80% of the companies that are there, because I actually went there this year because it was the first time I was open in 3 years due to COVID, or 2 years due to COVID. I went there and about 80% of the companies were looking for engineering students, and they were pretty much hiring on the spot.
Wow. And the reason they were hiring on the spot speaks to the degrees that you earned with just an additional 1 year of high school in the program, the 13th years we talked about. Talk to us about what you earned while you were in the Bluewater Middle College and you'll be taking with you to U of M next fall.
I ended up getting 2 different associate's degrees, which was the associate degree in electrical engineering as well as one in mechatronics engineering. And on top of that, I was nominated by some of the faculty in the engineering wing to win a leadership award 2 years in a row. So if you were interested in having that to put on a resume, it looks really good.
Yeah, very good. And that is leading me to my next question, Max. How did the Bluewater Middle College really help you prepare for life after high school graduation?
They really gave me the tools necessary to take the classes that I wanted to, and kind of immerse myself in what I wanted to know rather than take random classes at the high school, because I was well ahead of most of the students. So I could have graduated my junior year, but I really didn't want to, because I wanted to graduate with my friends, of course. And another thing that I didn't mention is in the middle college, you still get to walk with your class and everything. Your high school, as long as you have the requirements, I believe will give you your diploma cover. So even though I didn't technically graduate from Port Huron Northern, I still have a Northern diploma cover, and I still got to walk with everyone and do everything that you'd normally do if you were a graduating student there. The only thing that isn't in there is the diploma, because you get that from the middle college. But getting back to what they did, they really allowed me to immerse myself in what I wanted to study, and prepared me to go on to that higher education that I knew I wanted to go after. Getting most of the general credits that I'd need for free rather than paying thousands of dollars for them at U of M.
Well, Jake, I'm sorry, Max, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that is probably one of the largest myths about middle colleges. Well, I don't want to leave my friends. I don't want to leave my graduating class. I want to walk with my class. And you were able to do that, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Very good. So what advice would you give somebody in the audience tonight that's interested in possibly attending Bluewater Middle College, or there's the career and technical middle college out at Tech as well, that, what advice would you give them if that's something they're interested in pursuing once they enter high school?
Just don't be afraid of what seems like a bigger workload, because like I said earlier, some of the classes are going to be in 3-hour chunks, and they might seem bad at first when you're coming off of only taking maybe hour-long chunk classes at high school. But like I said, they're not as bad because they're split up with your breaks in between. The professors are really lenient. There's a lot to do on campus, during those breaks, like there's the game room, there's the cafeteria, there's vending machines, there's lounge areas everywhere. Those 3-hour classes really don't feel like it, especially if you have friends in the class. And if you're taking classes that you're genuinely interested in, rather than taking them with just taking classes your friends are in, you're obviously going to find really good people and really good friends that'll make those classes that are 3 hours long feel like they're 15 minutes long.
And I'm going to follow that up with the same question I asked Jake and Allison. What's your best advice for an 8th grade student that's about ready to enter their first year of high school?
Probably the best advice I think was already touched on earlier was just don't feel like you need to have your entire life plan planned out as you're going into your freshman year of high school, because I had no idea what I wanted to do going into it until I ended up taking those engineering courses. And like I said, I wanted to do a business degree at first, and that's even what I did my first year. And I switched out of that and still ended up getting 2 degrees. So it's not like, even if you start going into the middle college, you don't immediately have to know exactly what you want to do and follow that path the whole way. Having that extra year gives you some leeway to change if you end up not enjoying what you're doing. And I even got to take extra elective classes in that, despite missing out the pretty much entire first year because I was taking business classes.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Jake. Max, I'm sorry. We're going to head on to the question and answer period. But before I get to that, I just really want to recap, the discussion that we just had with our panelists. We talked about the importance of taking advantage of opportunities throughout the 4 years and how you can put those all together throughout your freshman year all the way to your senior year as part of your career and college plans. I think each of them did a tremendous job explaining not only the transition that they made to high school, but how those opportunities helped them work through the process of knowing what they wanted to do after high school graduation. I also want to continue to point out and reiterate the opportunities that they took advantage of and how those helped pay for their education and or training to pursue that career that they're going to here in a few years. The credits that they earned, the degrees that they earned, as well as the certifications that they're going to earn are all ultimately free before they even walk out the door from high school and walk across that stage for high school graduation. All that's really part of the process, plus also helping them figure out what they would like to do in a high-paying, high-demand career for the rest of their lives. Well, next, we're going to move to the question and answer period. I'm sure the audience has a lot of questions here. I actually had one already sent to me privately through the chat. But at the bottom of your screen, if you scroll down, you're going to see the little chat feature. Just enter the question into there, and we'll direct it at one of our panelists. Our first question, I'll get us started. It's for Allison. I'm going to get her to start a video again, and it's about applying to tech. Allison, if I can get you going here. There's a question that said, did you have to apply to tech, and if so, when and where?
Yeah, I did apply to tech. I applied in my main office, and I believe I applied at the end of the year of my sophomore year.
Okay, very good. And I know, and this is more of my question, but I hope that did you go to the tech open house your sophomore year?
We didn't have one because of COVID. So
Okay.
No, I didn't. I was going in just hoping it was going to be a great experience, which it was.
Very good. All right. Well, that was that question. I'm not seeing any coming through here. Jake, I got a question for you. If you can start your screen, we'll replace the spotlight there. Much like I asked Allison about playing sports as well, did being dual enrollment affect after school programs or athletics at all?
No, it didn't affect any after school programs. I just had to work around, you have to kind of make it, you have to know when to get your assignments in, and you have to make sure they don't get in the way of sports. It actually helped out a lot because I could go home if I forgot cleats, if I forgot a uniform or something, I could just run back to my house because I didn't have anything to do. I didn't know in school hours that I had to be in. So it worked out very well, and overall it helped me a lot this year. That's
great. Jake, and you're going to stay right on here, and then I'll go to Max, and then I'm going to go to Allison. Here, I'm going to ask all three of you this same question. how do you know what classes you wanted to take? And because I think a lot of people don't realize too, once you get into high school, you start selecting your schedule outside of the requirement. So how did you know what classes that you wanted to take?
I was always pretty interested in the science courses, and it's really a really broad spectrum of things you can do. You go into sciences, and that leads to a bunch of other opportunities for when you get to senior year and uh, exiting high school. Like I took biology that introduced me to anatomy, and now I'm taking anatomy my senior year.
Very good.
So,
And I
yeah.
got another question following up on that. What's the difference between the AP classes and dual enrollment?
The AP classes have an actual test at the end of the year that you have to take, and dual enrollment, you just have college finals. So it's their version of you just take a test. Usually you have to take a lockdown browser with it, and you just have to do a final exam for a college course.
Okay. So just to summarize, you had to pass a college class with a certain grade, like you do at all classes, but you do have a final exam that's a large percentage of your grade, but not where an AP class has a standardized test that you have to get a certain score on to pass the entire class, regardless of your grade in the class, correct?
Yeah, the AP class, the test is more valuable to the grade for getting those college credits.
Very good. I'm going to get Max back up here. Max, how did you really decide? You already kind of touched on this, but how did you decide what classes you wanted to take when you started as a ninth grade and 10th grade student at the beginning of your high school career?
Pretty much the same thing as Jake. I was just really interested in the sciences and really interested in the maths or in math. So I ended up taking biomedical science because it sounded like a cool class and I had absolutely no idea what it was about. And I ended up not really enjoying that, but knew I wanted to do something in the new STEM wing. And a lot of my friends were in the intro to engineering class. So there was an opening in there and I asked my counselor if I could switch over there. And that pretty much pretty much put everything else into motion for me to follow the path that I ended up going down.
Very good. And Allison, how about yourself?
I knew I wanted to be in the healthcare scene, so I knew I needed to take math and science classes. And I knew I needed to take AP and honors classes, so when I got into direct admit, I'd have a step above everyone else.
Very good. Max, we're going to come back to you. I just got another one sent to me. Were you able to apply for scholarships even though you had technically another year? Were you able to take advantage of that at your senior year at Port Huron Northern?
For my senior year at Port Huron Northern, I didn't really look into it because SC or the middle college covers everything for your 13th year as long as you don't go past that 17 credit per semester limit. I believe I did ask them because I was at one point taking 21 credit hours just to fill out my schedule a little more because I had a block that I didn't like was empty. And I asked them if I could apply for scholarships, but because even though you're in that 13th year and you're an enrolled student at SC4, you're still technically a high school student, so you can't really be granted a scholarship to pay for that. But after my 13th year, when I was going into college, a thing they hit on, or when I was going to U of M, a thing they hit on in their success sessions, because everyone at the middle college really wants you to be successful. So they have these meetings every, I think, 4 times a year with you to talk about what you need to do and the steps you need to take to go down the path that you decide you want to go on. One of them, they touch on the fact that when you transfer to a 4-year, if that's your ultimate goal, you aren't a transfer student, despite the fact that you have 2 associate's degrees. I'm still technically qualified as a first year. So I'm being admitted as a freshman. So I get to apply for freshman scholarships and I get all the bonuses for doing that as well.
I just want to go back and hit that point because there's another great point about a middle college. So you're not a transfer student. You are entering much as you would if you never left your high school into a middle college. And you have the same opportunity then for financial aid and STIPs, correct?
Yep.
Perfect. And that's another myth that's out there that people get worried about, but it's important when you're looking at attending a college, university, community college, or trade school. Thank you very much for bringing that up. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat. So what we're going to get going now is the closing of tonight. So you're probably asking yourself, where do I go from here? As you can see on your screen right now, these are the St. Clair County's 8 college advisors at our local high schools. College advisors are recent graduates that serve 1 to 2 years in our local high schools that help students and families prepare for life after graduation by creating a post-secondary career and college plan, navigating enrollment processes, applying for financial aid and scholarships, and much more. Even though these advisors only serve for 1 to 2 year term, they will always be a college advisor in your high school, as well as our amazing guidance counselors to help you with your plans throughout the 4 years of high school. Stop by their office next fall, schedule a meeting, and start discussing what your plan would be after high school graduation. I also want to note in the coming weeks, we'll publish a summer to-do list for you that'll guide you through the summer months with steps that you can take before next fall that we discussed here tonight and start preparing your career and college plans your freshman year. If you'd like to review the recording of this webinar or any other previous events, visit our website at www.bwcan.org. There you'll find multiple resources and additional career and college planning information as well. We also want to mention that our Bluewater College Access Network monthly newsletter provides students and families with updated information and resources from St. Clair County, RISA, Tech Center, Bluewater Middle College, BWCAN, and our community and state partners. You can sign up for this on our website and you'll receive this monthly. Tonight's webinar was our final installment of our 3-part winter series for 2022, as well as our final event for the school year. However, there'll be countless career and college events and opportunities, much like tonight, to help support you and your family over the next 4 years to prepare for life after high school graduation. We look forward to seeing you soon. I want to just say a special thank you out to our panelists this evening. They're extremely busy with the end of the school and their busy schedules and coming to bring the advice for the incoming freshman class. I also want to give a special thank you to Kaylee Rakes for the technical support in the background of tonight's event. Kaylee is in her first year as a college advisor at Port Huron Northern High School, and will be back next fall to help the Huskies with their planning. Thank you again for coming. I'm Nick Boudreau from St. Clair County, RISA. We look forward to seeing you next year. Have a great evening. You can stay connected with all our updates and information by following us on our social media platforms as well.